future hold for the combined entity, and what will be the key challenges that the companies will face? Joining us to discuss that, Prabir Rao, the Managing Director of Jefferies India, who was one of the advisors to the iGate consortium. Also with us, Sudhin Apte, the CEO of Offshore Insights, formerly with Forrester. Gentlemen, many thanks for joining us. Prabir, let me start by asking you, we understand that the $700 million that iGate hopes to raise in terms of debt will be split 50-50 between the Royal Bank of Canada and Jefferies. But what are the terms of the financing that have been offered to iGate? What's the tenure? What's the rate?
This is really a bridge finance, so there will be a follow-on deal which will really be a bank loan or a bond which will be used to finance the transaction on a long-term basis. But I think Phaneesh mentioned today that he expects the acquisition to be cash accretive in 2012. So from a servicing perspective, etc., I think this is a very comfortable loan.
Right, Prabir, but let's talk about the strategic rationale. Analyst reports say that scale is not really going to be enough to take on, say, an Infosys or a TCS, but what was your strategic thinking on this deal?
I think if you look at it, there are 3 or 4 key reasons why this transaction is strategic from an iGate perspective. Number one, it gives them a much larger service base to kind of service the customers. They have 25,000 combined employees. This in turn helps them reach out for larger contracts and therefore build scale through that route. There is a lot of complementarity between the two businesses as far as industry verticals is concerned, and there's hardly any overlap. So that's going to be very important when you build out a diversified global model. With $1 billion of sales across a large number of industry verticals, I think that's going to be an important part of how iGate Patni compete against the tier 1 players going forward. There are also a lot of complementarity in terms of customers. There's just 2 customers who are common for these 2 companies. So again, a lot of cross-selling opportunities and also an opportunity to kind of go out and build the business across a much wider set of customers.
All right, Sudhin, let me put that point to you, because you've often said that mid-size and small IT companies are going to be increasingly marginalized, in that $200-300 million size. So you think that given that fact, it really has secured iGate's future by getting this transaction actually done?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think at $200 or $300 million, the rate at which iGate would have got marginalized would have been much higher. Now with $1 billion, I still don't believe that they have a competitive edge to compete with Infosys or TCS, but they surely can buy another 3 or 4 years before they further face next level of marginalization. So from $300 million to $1 billion approximately in revenue gets additional 3 or 4 years of breather for iGate.
All right, Sudhin, let me go back to the road ahead. Probably, Phaneesh himself said that the integration process is going to be a very complex one. But, what will that integration process really entail? And also for some clarity in terms of the preferred option. We've been talking about that reverse merger, delisting. How will this transaction finally conclude? There must be a preferred option that you think is going to be most practical, viable, and feasible. What did you factor in while you were trying to get this deal done?
I think the first stage is really to complete the open offer, which will happen towards the first half of 2011. iGate is fairly open in terms of what should be the logical next step in terms of both regulatory aspects as well as financial aspects. I think the goal is to have a company which presents a combined face from a service delivery as well as from a customer perspective. And that's the end game, and to the extent that can be achieved through delisting, through merger of the 2 companies, etc. I think all those options are still open and will be taken up once the tender offer is completed.
All right, so still no clarity on those issues. But Sudhin, you put out a report on this transaction. Your report says that vendor's growth strategy does not mean client value. So you don't seem particularly convinced by the strategic rationale behind the scale argument. Help me understand why you're taking that position.
Sure. Let me first mention one point. I think a lot of integration, or rather a lot of acquisitions that companies do, they look at primarily from their growth perspective, and at times obviously there is a client value. What we did in this case was, while this whole discussion was under consideration, we went to 20 plus Patni's clients to understand what they think, and a third of them didn't know even who iGate was. So that's really a state of awareness of Patni's clients about iGate. We don't see any connect, we don't see synergies between the two companies that there will be substantial scale. What is happening is, while a vendor is getting $1 billion revenue, they're spreading too thin across 8 verticals and more than half a dozen horizontal service lines. With only one ADM, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Right. So you're saying that they will be spreading themselves too thin. But Prabir, what will be iGate's strategy as far as verticals are concerned? Because we just heard there from Subin that, they're spread across 8 different verticals. Perhaps they're going to be spreading themselves too thin. What is the verticalization strategy that you guys have factored in?
I think the idea is to try and bring the two complementary strengths of the companies together, and if that means that you need to kind of prune a couple of verticals, etc., that's nothing been decided on that yet. The idea is naturally to be as competitive as you can be on a combined basis across the different verticals that you operate in.
Okay, Prabir, that's one of the concerns, and Subin was just raising some of the other apprehensions that analysts seem to have, and that really is about client retention. They seem to suggest that it's going to be tough to hold on to Patni's existing clients. What's your take, and what did you guys look at?
Well, it's too early to comment as to what clients are thinking, but at least the hope is that the clients will be happy with the combined entity, with the new management that Phaneesh is bringing onto the table as the CEO of the combined businesses. And I think given the diligence that we've done, we are fairly confident that the client issues will be managed very well.
Okay, Subin, Prabir being optimistic there as far as client retention is concerned, but one of the other concerns that you have raised is on employee attrition. You believe that people in the mid-management level at Patni are unlikely to stay on post this transaction. Why do you say that?
Patni already has an attrition much higher than industry average, double the attrition of Tata Consultancy, which is the lowest in the industry. But I think the bigger issue really is, it's not about iGate. When any such transaction happens, there is a air of uncertainty. You need only services departments from one company. You need one account manager for a given account if they are common client for both companies. A whole lot of these type of things, especially in ADM, enterprise application, and common practices like infrastructure will happen. So obviously employees will speculate, and that possibly will result into anxiety to look out. We spoke to some of employees informally, and we do believe that in the market where larger companies are gearing themselves to recruit 20,000 and 25,000 people in next 6 months, they surely are going to scout behind Patni resources.
Alright, Subin, going back to Prabir, I'm going to try my luck once again. What is the preferred option? Is delisting the preferred option? Phaneesh was on the show a short while ago, and he said that he does believe in the whole NASDAQ listing adding to the brand's credibility. So would delisting be the preferred option?
There is no preferred option at this stage, because it all depends post completion of the tender offer, what the market conditions are, etc. So it's too early right now to comment on what will be the preferred option 6 months later.
All right, Prabir Rao and Subin Apte, many thanks for joining us. Prabir, congratulations for getting this deal done. Appreciate your time here on CNBC TV 18.